Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deep South Homestead on porch time today. Enjoying the sitting room today, guys. It is so hot outside. Oh my goodness. Chris and me worked yesterday. 111 degree heat index, splitting firewood and stacking it. It was so hot. But we accomplished the task and got it done, and very thankful for Mr. Chris for that. Gardening is, in this hot weather, we've decided to quit picking all the okra because we have so much okra in the freezers now and canned. I told Wanda, I said, I think I'm just going to take a few plants and keep for fresh eating, and the rest of it I'm just going to let it go to seed and save the seeds off of it. We might, if it does okay, in the future, we may even have some white okra seeds to sell from it. So on our Etsy store. So you might want to keep that in mind. It just depends on how it goes. All the Jimmy Red has been picked. It's all in the shop on the corn drying racks. Got some really, really good ears off of it. I mean, I was blown away as to the quality of a lot of it. That we were really amazed by. We've got some peanuts left in the field up there. A few squashes that are still making a few squashes along. They're engulfed with grass, but you know what? The grass is keeping them from dying. I have some of them that's not covered up in grass. I have some of it's just looks like knee deep in grass. The ones that's clean around don't have any squash on them. They're blooming themselves to death with no squashes. The ones that's in the deep grass is blooming but making squash. The Cherokee tan pumpkins is knee deep in grass everywhere and got pumpkin. We done picked, I don't know, maybe I think 10 or 15 off of them, and there's probably 30 or more left on them two plants up there, and they're just grass covering them up, but they're just blooming and going like crazy. I mean, go figure. Makes me wonder why I work so hard to keep the grass out of the garden. The peanuts they're being taken over by grass also. Sweet potatoes has taken the whole place over. They are just, they're just the prettiest sweet potatoes I think I've ever grown. And we're at day, I think I figured it up yesterday, we're at day 68, I think it was, day 68 on them. And we've got about 68 more days to go and we'll be able to dig them. So we were thinking maybe first of September, first week or so in September, maybe we'll get them dug. We got a late start this year because of the weather. And depending on how they're doing, I might leave them longer. If there's nothing bothering them or anything, I may just leave them longer. I mean, I don't know yet. The butter beans, we have a decent stand, but not what we really wanted. So we've actually replanted some of the, what did Wanda call them? Henderson butter beans, the little green limas that she wanted planted. We've actually had to replant some of them because it's like they come up in the little containers and something eats them off before they get going good. And we're having a big issue with that. Cucumbers, we've got enough this year to do a few things with. Nothing like what we was expecting to get this year. The high tunnel has basically got a few pepper plants in it. The rest of it is peanuts. And I did go over to Deep South Homestead the other day. And I went, you forget about some things. I was at the shop, doing a little pilfering around in the shop, see if there's anything else I needed to get out of there. And I looked, and guys, I forgot about the greenhouse behind the shop. I went back in there. Of course, we knew that the freeze last winter with all the snow and everything had killed all the pineapple plants in there. And I said, well, I might as well clean it out. I was in there, it was all dead stuff all in it. So I was cleaning it out, making a big pile outside of it there to take the grapple and haul off. And I got to looking, and I had 6 little baby pineapple plants starting to come up from some rootstock left in there. And I grabbed them and took them out of there, and I told Wanda, I said, we still have some rootstock from our old rootstock, you know, and that we've had for years and years. So we didn't lose all of them. I brought them over here and stuck them in a Vago bed out here in the high tunnel. And I'm going to try to see if I can't get them going and keep our pineapples up and going. Now, they're kind of small right now. Probably won't make a pineapple this year, but next year, maybe, if we keep them alive through the winter, maybe next year we can have a pineapple on them. And that's, you know, we still got blueberries. We could not believe it. We were up there the other day, and the trees are still loaded with blueberries. Me and Chris stopped and ate some of them, and me and Wanda's always going up there eating them. The deer are underneath them every day eating on them up there. And I've never had blueberries go into July in this kind of heat. I've just never had it before. Down here at the camp house, all these trees are pretty much bare right now. They don't have any berries on them. There's a few scattered ones in the front out here. I'll see a bird occasionally go in the tree from a staggered one. You know, the one's just left out there alone. But those up at the old house up there, they're still just loaded, you know. And had a very exciting thing happen today. Today, I'm actually shooting this on Monday, right before Tuesday. We were headed to Deep South this morning, going to get ready to head over there. I had some painting and stuff I wanted to do over there. And when I went up to the barn, I fed the animals, and I came back to the house, to the camp house, and Wanda and I were getting some stuff ready to take over there. And I looked out there and I saw Candy, my cow, walking by herself off into the back of the pasture back there. And I said, she's fixing to have a baby. Because we've been waiting for weeks, figuring it should be at any time now she should have a baby the way she swelled up. So we went back there and we kind of hung around maybe 30 and 40 minutes before we left just to see, and she never would. She went and laid down and nothing ever happened. And Wanda and I said, you know what, we're just going to go on, make the trip over there and get some painting done and come back and around dinner time and just see if, see if she's had a calf or not. Well, when we turned and came into our property, we have security gates and all here. We got to the security gate. I looked over to the side, and underneath the pine trees out there and some big giant yopons, I saw Candy laying there on her side in the process of giving birth. And I told Wanda, I said, you go on to the camp house. I jumped the fence. I said, Candy's having a baby. So I ran out there and looked, and her water had broke. She wasn't having the calf yet. So I ran back to the camp house to tell Wanda. Wanda said, well, look, let's just get a bite to eat, to snack on here. And before we fix lunch, because we're still an hour away from lunch. And she said, let's just get a snack on something to eat right quick, and then we'll go out there. I said, look, when that water breaks, they're going to have that calf pretty quick, you know. Usually within 30, 40 minutes, that calf is born. Well, we grabbed a little, we called it a quick snack. Took about 15, 20 minutes, or maybe a little longer. Could have took longer. And I told her, I said, I'm going back just to go see it. So she came on with me and brought Lucy, and we jumped on the Ranger, and we went around through the field, and we did. I looked, and I saw as we drove past her, I saw the hooves already sticking out. And I told her, I said, we're gonna miss it. So I flew, because we had to go a long way around to get to the gate to get in that pasture. We got in there and got gates closed and got over there, and the other cows was laying, I don't know, maybe 50 feet from her. And we got there right when the last part of the calf was coming out. And of course, you'll see it on the video. And our patrons have probably already seen it. But we did have a little calf born, and it was perfectly fine. Beautiful calf. Beautiful calf. So we've had that we've had that adventure today, and we're waiting on Shushan now. Shushan, I thought she was going to have one this morning, because she went off into the woods by herself too. And I told Wanda, I said, we're going to have 2 babies today, and I'm kind of keeping my eye on Shushan the rest of today, just to be sure she don't have one you know, up in this heat out here, because when they start having it up in this 100-something degree temperature, that bothers me when you have a cow like that, because she could overheat pretty easy, and all the straining and all that they go through, especially if they have any kind of problems. And then I got to get out there in that heat and deal with it myself if she has a problem. And I'm just not young anymore, I'm not cut out for this heat. But guys, let me tell you something. There's a lot, this is just what's been going on in our life. There's a lot of things going on in the United States around us here, and our hearts goes out to the people in Texas. And now I've told you guys up in North Carolina that the water's coming back. You know, I've made that comment. I said, guys, get ready. It's coming back. And we wake up this morning and find out that there's places in North Carolina up there that's all underwater. I mean, everything's being washed away. And I don't know about loss of lives yet. I hadn't had time to go look at it to see what's transpired. I have seen houses, cars, everything, just all that kind of stuff underwater. I've seen one thing where people were caught in their home and they were up to their neck in water and they couldn't get out of the home, and they're only in a one-story house. You know, I don't know whether they made it or not. Don't have any clue. But this is the beginning of things, guys. It's pretty devastating. And you know, the crazy thing is, right behind all this water is coming cooler weather to the north, to the east, and to the central part of the United States. And then out west, it's fixing to be so hot. It's just, I don't know how people's going to stand it. It's going to be so hot, you know. This weather modification that we've got going on in our country now, and it's not just all weather modification, guys. We are in solar cycle 25, and I've told y'all this. There are things going on with the sun and the atmosphere that is not going to be good for quite some time to come. And it's in the western part of the United States and the what's called the Ring of Fire. If y'all see me scratch my hand, I've been picking figs. My hands and arms are itching. I don't usually itch, but they just itching the fool out of me this morning because I picked figs. But the Ring of Fire is starting to heat up over there in the Pacific. And guys, there's some bad things going to come out of this one. I'm telling you, this time is different than other times. I'm kind of watching Japan. I'm watching the northwest part of the United States, up around Oregon, Washington State, up in there. I'm kind of watching those areas. Alaska, looking up in those areas. There's some things that, even California, there's some things going on around and over California right now that are not good. I guess the biggest concerns, if you want to talk about the biggest concerns in the world right now, is Italy and Japan. Those are the two big concerns and China. China's having a lot of flooding over there. It's not just us having these flooding issues. You got China, Spain. I mean, there's just countries everywhere having these atmospheric rivers happening over their countries, and just loss of life, loss of property and everything. It's really, really bad. But it's part of the times in which we're living in. Now, it's not good for some people. Some people are devastated. You know, my mama and my daddy, if they had lived, and if they'd have lived normal, longer lives, they'd be alive right now. But because they died. My daddy was 86 when he died. My mom was 73 when she passed away. Well, Wanda's dad passed away in his 70s. Her mom's in her mid-80s and in decent health. But not everybody is made to live during these times. And Wanda and I have often talked. My mom and dad and her dad would not have understood the kind of things, the kind of world we're living in today. And I think the Lord was merciful to them by allowing them to come on home when they did. And many times we have to understand that when a person passes on, and it seems like they're passing on at a younger age than what they probably should have, maybe they weren't made for these times. Now, let me just say this. If you're alive in the world today, you were made to be different. Because the world we're living in today is different. It's different than anything we've ever known in the past. And if you're alive during the world and what's going on in the world today, you were made to be different. So don't think that something's wrong with you. Don't look down upon yourself. Don't let people belittle you. Don't think you're some freak or something out there. No. You were made to be different. And the psalmist, David, in the scriptures, he talks about how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Each and every one of us is God's creation, and I can only talk for me, okay? I don't know about anybody else out there. There's been times in my life that I've not been happy with who I am. I'm like, Lord, why couldn't I have been like this, or why couldn't I have been like that? Or why did I have to, look like this or be built like that? Why did I have to be so tall? Or there's times in my life that I've thought those things, but then I would stop and think about what the psalmist said. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. There's only one of me in the world, and that's because God took His time to make me the way He did. And the things that I have experienced in my life, many of them have been very, very hard. Some of them have been my own fault. Some of them have been the fact that God allowed me to go through things so that I could be a blessing to others. And many times in life, we seem to forget we're not here for our own benefit. We are here upon this earth to be a blessing to the Lord and to someone else. And the things in life that we learn and we go through are not necessarily for us. Many times, they're to benefit someone else who has a moment of need during their life. It wasn't happy for me when I lost my wife. That was a very trying time in my life, especially at such a young age. And then not long after, it was several years after, I had a dear friend of mine who was my next door neighbor. His wife was killed right in front of me and Wanda. And I had the opportunity to sit with him, and because I went to him and I told him, I said, look, if you ever need to talk, I've lost a wife. I have, because you lived by me when I did. And he said, yes, he said, I do. And 2 hours later, sitting there talking to him, he said, man, I didn't mean to keep you. I said, no. I said, I came here with the intent that if you ever needed to talk, then talk. And I said, and evidently today was one of those days, and he thanked me, and I went on, and I've never talked to him about it again. But we are here for not only for ourselves, but to be a blessing to others. And by being a blessing to others, we edify and glorify the Lord by doing that. Now, you were made to be different. There's only one of you in the world. Now, even you may have a twin, but there's still just one of you. Even though you're twins or triplets or quadruplets or whatever you are, there's still just really just one of you, because you are made different than the rest of them are. And stop and think, ask yourself the question, if I was made different, then what does the Lord have in store for me? Because He has something in store for you. If you're still here upon this earth, the living God still has something in store for you to do for him. And that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at life. When I wake up every morning, we always get a joke. Chris and I get a joke out of this every so often. Chris goes, "What you doing there, so-and-so and so-and-so?" I said, at my age, I just hope to wake up and be able to choose what I want to do that day, you know? And that's the truth. I'm not lying about that. I just, to wake up every day now is a blessing. I mean, you know, when you're in your mid-60s and the Bible says a man lives 10 and 2 years, then he's lived a normal life. And if he adds days to that, he says he adds sorrow to his life. So, you know, with that being said, I mean, I'm not that far from reaching that point. And I would hope and pray that I could, you know, be able to live a lot longer and a lot healthier and be able to be a blessing to a lot more people, because that is my desire, is to be a blessing to others and to be able to enjoy the life that the Lord has granted me. I have done everything in my power to be different. And when I talk about we were made to be different, people don't understand when you look at them and you go, well, you know, I'm trying to save up some food and I'm trying to set some stuff back. I'm trying to make wise financial decisions because the scriptures teaches me that these kind of things are coming upon the earth. And people look at you like you're lost your ever living mind, you know, and if you're not careful, you'll think, well, gosh, I'm an outcast here. I must be a wackadoodle or something like that. And no, you were made to be different. When everything goes haywire, I was talking to a person about this the other day. When everything goes haywire, and it is going to. I mean, the Bible tells us it's going to, so don't think it's strange when it happens, because it's going to happen. There are people out there that's going to be looking for someone. We talked about this in the last Porch Time. They're going to be looking for someone who can help them get their feet back on the ground. And if you have paid attention and followed the leadership of the Spirit, because you were made to be different. If you belong to the living God, you're different. You're made to be different. Then they're going to be looking for you. And they're going to be wanting what you have. And at that point, it is your time, being a child of the King, to shine and to be a blessing to those that are less fortunate. So don't think it crazy when people look at you and you start talking about, well, what's going on with weather and what's going on with prophetic events taking place and stuff like that. Because let's just be honest, most of the people in the world today, I'm talking to church-going people too. I mean, church people, they go to church and they sit back in their pews and they're padded and they under air conditioning and they listen to a preacher preach a nice message. The choir sings a good song. Maybe someone sings a special, and they get up from there and they go home and they eat a nice lunch, or they go out to a restaurant and eat a nice lunch, and they come home and they go back that night and they sit through another message, and they go home and they get ready for work the next day, and life is just a routine for them. And then they work on a public job, and on that public job they give man 40 plus hours of their time on that job, and then the time that they've spent traveling to that job and from the job, and then they have to, you know, they work themselves crazy trying to make someone else wealthy and earn what they call a living. And then the weekend comes and they can't wait for Saturday and Sunday to get there because they, you know, I've never been that way, but to me every day is the same. I don't care. I'm one of them kind of people in the Bible where, you know, the Bible says some people call every day holy. I'm one of them kind of people that calls every day holy. I don't call any one day holier than the next day. I don't think you have to. But some people live for the weekend, and then they live to get a vacation and go, you know, to go somewhere and do something, and then all of a sudden, by the time the vacation starts coming to the end, they can't wait to get back home. I've never understood that. Even though I used to go on a vacation every now and then, I don't anymore, because to me it's a waste of money and a waste of time. I think about that, and I think about Wanda brought a video to me right before I came in here of a couple. I think they live up toward they're way up north, somewhere up there. I don't watch them, but Wanda was showing me. She says, "Look at this couple here called Lumina Acres," and she said they have bought I hope I get this right, bought a 150-year-old farm up there. And she was showing me some of the things on the video that they were talking about. And I don't know them, don't know them from Adam. But they have some morals about them that I really admired, some things that they said. I don't know the guy's name, I don't know his wife's name. But he made the comment that he had been waiting and looking at this property that they bought for 6 years to purchase it, and he said, we don't go on vacations and all, and his wife said, we didn't, I didn't get fancy diamond rings for anniversaries and stuff like that. She said, instead we got a farm for my anniversary, you know. And she was excited. I think they had some blueberry bushes. I saw Wanda showed me a thing, they were standing by some blueberry bushes. I believe he had planted some for her and they never bore, and then this farm had blueberry bushes, and she said, what an anniversary gift. I mean, you've got to admire younger people that have that mentality. I mean, that right there, I don't know anything about these people, but that right there showed me that there's still younger people out there that's got a decent head on their shoulders. They're not out wasting their money, running around, taking trips, and just blowing money. They evidently have saved up money to purchase this place with, and I'm telling you, it's a fine place. I mean, it's a 150-year-old homestead farm. It was, I mean, they stuff on it. From what I gathered in the video, they don't even know what's in the place, you know. And that's what I'm telling you. You're made to be different. People like them, they were different. They were made to be different. They're not your normal younger people who are jumping on planes, flying here to this, or going over there doing that, or going, you know, just going. This couple evidently saved money up and bought something that they really wanted, and they sacrificed. They didn't vacation. They didn't waste their money on, you know, expensive anniversary gifts and all that kind of stuff. And you know, and that's Wanda and I are the same way. We don't go out and blow our money, you know, wasting it, going out to eat and going on vacations, going, you know, partying and stuff like that. We just don't do it. And we're people like us, when the Bible says, come out from among them and be different. You know, I look at people like, we're just different. We were made to be different. And God has many people like that scattered all over the world that do things like this. They're just made to be different. And there's people like that that excel in life, and they get to live the dream, you know, of what they want to do in life. I mean, you have to admire those kind of people, because they didn't get caught up in the rat race of what your quote-unquote government has planned for you. They've been planning it since I've got documents right over here from the 1930s that have been declassified that actually tells the plans that the government put into action back in the mid to late 30s. Is the reason you do what you do. It's the reason I do what I do. I mean, because it's been bred into us. We've been programmed by the government to do specific things. I have done my best over the last several years to break those habits that's been bred into me. And I don't have a cell phone. I don't want one. I haven't had one now for years. I lived first 40, 50 years of my life without one. And of course, when I run construction companies, I had them because I had to have them for ordering material, stuff like that. But just as soon as I got where I didn't have to have one, I throwed that sucker down through the woods, you know. I don't own one. Now, Wanda has one. She keeps in contact with her children and my children and stuff like that with it. But me personally, I don't tote one with me. No matter, I don't go nowhere. I don't tote one anywhere because I don't have one. And I'm perfectly content being that way. I don't have a landline in the house, nothing like that. So we're made to be different. We're all made to be different. There's things about you. You were made to be different. There's things that you do that there's probably people in your family that look at you and go, "Are you a nut? Have you lost your every living mind? Why do you do this?" I can give you, for instance, I remember one time my mother-in-law, she's passed away now. I come in from the garden. I had a 5-gallon bucket full of potatoes in my hand that I dug. Nice potatoes. And I come in, I was showing them to my wife she's passed away since. I was showing them to her and she says, "Man, what a bucket of potatoes, that's nice." And my mother-in-law looked at me and she said, "Why do you go out there and go through all that hassle? You're burning up." She said, "Why?" I said, "Well, look at the potatoes." She said, "Well, you can go to the grocery store and get them pretty cheap. Why do you put yourself through this?" I said, "Because these are ours. And because of Psalm 128 in the Bible." Or she didn't know anything about that, and she says, "Well, I just don't see any sense in it." She said, "Because you can go to the grocery store and buy them for little or nothing, you know." And I said, "Yeah, the ones in the grocery stores have sprout nips been sprayed all over them, and I don't want anything sprayed on my potatoes. These are new potatoes. I cook these potatoes. They taste 100% different than anything I buy at that store, and I ain't been nothing sprayed on them. They're just great potatoes, you know." And she said, "Sprout nip, what is that?" I told her, I said, "That's stuff they spray on the potatoes that keeps them from sprouting." I said, "The potatoes you're getting in the grocery store is probably 6 months to a year old. They didn't just dig them, you know." And she says, "Well, I don't know about that, you know." And I don't argue with people. I just, whatever. What it is, what it is. But you have people with that mentality. I went to a chiropractor one time. He was up in central Mississippi. And we were chit-chatting. And I told him, I said, "Man, I just found me an old Scoville hoe head." And he said, "Oh," he was old. He was really an old gentleman. And he said, "That brings back a lot of memories." He said, "I hoed chopped a lot of cotton with a Scoville hoe until they came out with the old gooseneck hoes." He said, "In my barn at the house, I've got several of them hanging up." He says, "And I've told myself when I got where I could work and make a lot of money like I do," he said, "as long as I can go to that grocery store, I ain't picking that hoe back up again." He says, "I just go to the grocery store now," you know. And guys, it saddens me. It really saddens me when people have that mentality and they don't think about what Psalm 128 says in the Bible. You know, "Happy is the man who grows his own food." I'm just paraphrasing it, you know. It says his wife is like his children are like a fruitful vine planted around a table, you know, like a fruitful vine, or like olive branches. His wife is like a fruitful vine. You know, I'll get it right in a minute. You know, and it goes on and talks about the blessings that the man has because he grows his own food and raises his own family. That's Psalm 128. People just don't read the Bible. They don't want to know what the Bible has to say. And that just breaks my heart when I hear people talking about, "Why do you raise your own food? Why not just go to the grocery store?" Well, guys, if that's all you do is go to the grocery store, you are totally 100% dependent upon the system. And at any moment, the system can shut you down and control you. I don't know. I'm made to be different. And there's a lot of you watching me right here today. You also are made to be different. And don't let people talk down to you because you're different. Because you get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and go work in your garden, maybe come sit back on the porch and have another cup of coffee, and probably having a cup of coffee right now listening to me. You know? Maybe you just come out of the garden and you're sitting here listening to me talk. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. You are living the life that God intended for you to live. You are made to be different. You know, at 50 years old, I walked away from the workforce and shut 3 of my companies down. When my wife died at 40-something years old, I said, life is too short. I am not going to fight this rat race the rest of my life. I'm going to live. And there's been a lot of people that asked me since then, said, Danny, what do you do for a living? You know what I tell them? I live for a living. That's what I do. I live for a living. And that's what I plan on doing until I die. I plan on just living. And I plan on enjoying every day that God blesses me with. And that's why I'm telling you guys, get out of debt. There's things that's fixing to happen that if you're in debt, you will bow a knee to the system. I promise you, you will have no choice. You will bow your knee to the system, because if you don't, you will lose everything you've ever worked for, and you will starve to death. Don't let that happen to you. Get yourself out of debt. Get yourself where you can, and guys, when I tell you to do this, I'm not talking about 6 months from now. I'm talking about you need to make it happen now. Because I can't, if I could only open people's eyes and see what's fixing to happen. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm just begging people to get out of debt. Because with things that's going to happen, it just breaks my heart to know that there's good people that's going to have to bow their knee to the system, and they're going to have to comply with whatever the system says. And a lot of people say, well, I'll never do nobody will never tell me. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. If you're in debt and you don't have a way to raise your food and a way to be sustainable, yes, you will. I don't care what you say. Yes, you will. If they look at you and tell you, I'm going to cut your electricity off, you're not going to be able to go to a doctor, you're not going to be able to go to a hospital, you have no police protection, you have no fire protection, if they start taking these freedoms away from you, and they are freedoms, they're not, that's all they are. When they start pulling that stuff away from you and tell you and say, unless you do this, you're not going back in a grocery store. And you can't raise no food, what are you going to do? You got kids in the house that's crying because they're hungry. What are you going to do? You haven't bought any land. You don't have any place, no raised beds, no containers, no 5-gallon buckets, no way to raise any kind of food. And your family is hungry. What are you going to do? You'll do just what everybody else does. You will comply. And you'll sign your life away to whatever this world wants you to do. That's how the mark of the beast is going to come about. The mark of the beast, you will openly, with a clear conscience, accept the mark of the beast, and you will comply because you think you can't do it any other way. And that's why guys, listen, when I tell you to build your faith, I'm not playing. I am literally being serious. I'm telling you, build your faith, because you are going to need it in the future. There's going to come a day, and you should have had an inkling about this in 2020, when you know what happened and you were told unless you complied and did this, you weren't going to have a job, you couldn't do this or you couldn't do that, you couldn't go here, you couldn't get on a plane, you couldn't do this if you didn't do that. And how many of God's people complied? See how easy it is? That was a test run, by the way, to just see how easy it'd be to get people to comply. How many people quit going to church because they said, oh, don't go to church, you'll die. You'll die if you go to church. How many people quit going to church? I know churches that shut their doors. I know churches that had people park outside and roll their windows down and listen to a preacher from a distance. They were scared of heaven. What foolishness. You know, I mean, guys, you will comply if you're not prepared. If you do not build your faith now, and you do not get yourself out of debt, and you do not set yourself up as good as a person can set themselves up, you will comply. And I hate to say that. That's why I'm telling you. You are made to be different. Listen, you are made to be different. God has put you here at this particular time in history because you are made to be different. Guys, let that sink in and think about it and ponder it and then pray about it and see what the Lord lays on your heart. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.